I was reminded last week on my vacation that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Heck, for that matter, neither is the rest of today. And if you're not keenly aware of that notion, then you just might be gambling with your health and maybe even your eternal soul. And today we're going to be chatting about those things right here at Holy Carnivore. What do you say that we just jump into the conversation? Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Holy Carnivore. My name is Jason, aka Pastor Jay, and welcome to Comfrey, Minnesota, and to New Hope Lutheran Church. This is my office here at the church, and it's so good to be back home. It's so good to be back at work, and back into the normal swing of life. If you weren't aware, because I haven't made any content over the last week and a half, I have been away. I've been in Cincinnati, Ohio, celebrating my youngest daughter and her graduation from the University of Cincinnati with her Bachelor of Science in Interior Design from the School of DAP. And it was a fabulous trip. It was so good to see her and her fiance and her friends, to go to church with her and to watch her walk across the stage at the University of Cincinnati at Nippert Stadium and just have a really good time. But there was a couple of things that happened along our way, and while we were there, some stories that I want to share with you, two stories that are really sobering reminders that how we live our lives are really, really important. Side note, if you hear any background noise outside, I apologize. I got my windows open. It's gorgeous outside, and I want to get some fresh air into my office. And so if you hear any noise out there, which is pretty rare, I apologize. Anyway, let's get into those stories. As I sip on my water, my salty water from LMNT, not sponsored anyway. So we took off a week ago yesterday. I think the date was Wednesday, April the 30th. That doesn't really matter. We took off on a Wednesday. And we headed for Peoria, Illinois, where we stayed the evening and at this hotel and casino called the Paradise Hotel and Casino. Never been there before. The reviews were wonderful. The rooms looked gorgeous, and they were. And it was a nice area. It was a nice, safe area. So we stayed the night there, and it was less expensive than everywhere else in town. So we stayed the night at this hotel and casino. And we checked in, we went and grabbed a bite for dinner, and then we decided to go for a walk because we were tired of sitting in the car all day. If you've been in the car for like 9-10 hours, you know what I'm talking about, right? You got to stretch your legs. You got to go, you got to move the body, right? And so we did. And there was a casino there on like this river lake where Peoria is at. The casino's on this massively huge yacht. So we decided to walk through the casino with no intention of even putting a dime in any machine or playing any games. We just decided to walk through, and we did. And what I saw made me stop and pause. In fact, I stopped and paused so long that I think I went into this death stare mode where my wife kind of needed to snap me out of it. We got near the back of the casino area, and it was just filled with slot machines. These big, very vibrant, beautiful slot machines, they all looked like gigantic smartphones or curved TVs or something. I don't know. They were very different than what I had ever imagined a slot machine could ever look like. Anyway, there was this gentleman, probably in his late 70s, early 80s, sitting all by himself. He had his wallet open, literally in his hand, like this. Mine's got dust in it. I generally don't keep cash. His was stuffed with cash. I kid you not. About a half an inch to a 3/4 inch thick of nothing but $100 bills. And he was feeding those $100 bills into the slot machine. About one bill every 30 seconds. And I stared. I got lost in the stare, just watching this guy mindlessly and hopelessly feeding that machine with $100 bills. And then my eye caught a glimpse of how much credit he had on the machine, and it said $8,700. And so in my estimation, he had probably fed that machine about 87 $100 bills. You might be sitting there shaking your head going, why would anybody do that? And that's what I thought too. Like, why? What's going on with this guy? I mean, he looked depressed. He looked hopeless. He looked disheveled. What he was doing was just mindless. And we walked out of there, and I thought about you and I thought about all of us and the way that we eat, the way I used to eat, mindlessly, just shoving sugar and carbs and junk food and chips and everything like that into my body. I didn't even think about it. I would go to the store and I'd buy candy bars and chips and soda and pop and Twinkies and Ho-Hos and cupcakes and desserts and ice cream and you name it. I shoved it all in. And besides eating my meals every single day of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I ate all this junk food constantly, all the time, feeding my body with that stuff. And I thought about, man, I was just gambling with my health. If this is resounding to you, then maybe that's what you've been doing too. Hopefully you've gotten away from that and you're now on a ketogenic diet like the carnivore, ketovore, keto, or some other form of weight loss routine that you're walking, you're getting healthy, right? That you're doing something to get your health in order. But if you're tuning into this video because you're just a little bit intrigued, then maybe you're gambling with your health the way that guy was gambling with his money, the way I used to gamble with my health. And I realized I can't do that anymore. I'm going to be honest. While I was on vacation, I was not a perfect little angel. I did not stay true carnivore. It would have been pretty difficult to do that. And there were days when I ate a little bit too much junk food. But you know what? I'm back home. There ain't no more junk food in the diet. This morning, I had a breakfast of bacon and eggs. And my tummy is stuffed, y'all. And I'm going to go home and have a little bit of a light lunch of a ribeye steak. And then this evening, we're going to have a roast for dinner. That's what's planned for today. And tomorrow, I got some chicken thighs already thawing out in the refrigerator. That's going to be lunch tomorrow. I don't know what for tomorrow night dinner. But I got to plan it out. Because if I don't, I'm going to be over at the Comfort C store or over at the grocery store, and I'm going to be buying junk food, and I'm going to be shoving that stuff in my mouth. If I'm not eating a healthy diet, I end up gambling with my health because I am a sugar addict, y'all, and some of you might be a sugar addict too, just the way that guy was a gambling addict. He had to have been an addict. He wouldn't have been shoving that much money in the machine if he hadn't been. That was a wake-up call, y'all. That was a total wake-up call. Well, anyway, the next morning we got up and we drove to Cincinnati. We drove the rest of the way, about 5.5 hour drive. And we got there, checked into our hotel, beautiful little hotel. And then we drove down to Cincinnati, about a 20-minute drive down to the campus, down to the university, which is not in downtown Cincinnati, but it is surrounded by Cincinnati. I mean, if you've ever been to Cincinnati, you know what I'm talking about. It's a city of 2.5 million people when you look about the city itself and the surrounding area. And there is nowhere to move. There is nowhere to go, especially when you're around campus. It's too many people and one tiny little bit of land. And so we parked the car. And we grab our daughter and we go for a long walk. I kid you not, we put in 20,000 steps. Walking uphill both ways. Cincinnati is built on hills. The university is hilly all over the place. And it feels like you're walking uphill both ways everywhere you go. And we went to the bookstore. We got ourselves some swag. You like my new hat? You got my Bearcat hat. I got 2 hats to my wife's chagrin. We each got sweatshirts and t-shirts and all that good stuff. We got our Bearcat gear, y'all. Walked around, we went and saw her exhibit, met up with her fiance, and then we went to dinner that evening, and we put a lid on it pretty early. We were all tired. Got up early the next morning, picked up our daughter at like 7 o'clock because the gates opened at 7:30 a.m. for graduation, and we went to the stadium, we dropped her off, and sat amongst about 15,000 other parents and brothers and sisters and family members and grandmas and grandpas, all waiting for our kids to walk across stage. About 2,500 kids at that one graduation ceremony. And it was lovely. It was wonderful. The weather cleared up. We had sunshine just for graduation. It rained the whole time we were there, y'all, except for during that ceremony. And then after the ceremony, we met up with our daughter and we walked around campus a little bit more, and we went down to the DAP building. She was in the School of Design and Architectural and Interior Design and Planning, the School of DAP. We saw her DAP exhibit. I'll put a few screenshots for you and maybe even a link down below if you want to take a peek at it. It was pretty amazing. She came up with this really cool concept. I'll let you read about it. And we walked around and looked at everybody's exhibits, and then it was time to go. We were hungry. It was like 1:30, y'all. We were starving, and our daughter's like, I need coffee. I need food. And so we decided to leave campus. And so we went and found our car, and we went to go leave the parking garage. And there was only one way to get off the campus. You had to turn left from the parking garage. And then there's this road called Martin Luther King. It's either Drive or Boulevard. I don't remember what the street's called. I just know it's Martin Luther King, something another. And it's on this hill. And normally you could go left or you could go right. There's a light right there. The light was out. There were more police and firefighter and paramedic presence than I've ever seen at one location. There was an accident that happened there at that intersection, at that light. Again, we could have normally have gone left, but in that case, we only could go right. And as I was getting ready to turn right out of there, I saw this person on the road, probably 20 feet directly in front of us. And they were performing CPR on this person's chest. I could see the compressions going up and down. And behind this person who was getting CPR, I saw this car, this black car, and it was totally crunched, just smashed up. And of course, the police, they usher us to get up the hill and turn right. And so we do. And we start heading up the hill, trying to get off of campus. 2 more fire trucks came down. I don't know how many more ambulances and how many more cop cars. And I was like, what is going on? Anyway, we finally got off campus 40 minutes later, drove 20 miles north or east or wherever it was, and we went to a restaurant for lunch. And that's when the news started coming in of how bad this accident really was and what had happened. Here's the skinny, here's lowdown. And you might have even heard this on the national news. What happened at the University of Cincinnati made national news. And it's horrifying. And you've got to continue to hear this. And you got to stick around all the way to the end of this video, by the way, because there's some life lessons in there for all of us, including how we eat on our carnivore diet. We're eating lunch at Buca de Beppo. And the story starts to roll in on social media that this person who was having CPR was a retired sheriff's deputy who had volunteered to work traffic control for the university's graduation that day. It wasn't just the ceremony that we were at that was happening that day. There was another one in the afternoon. And when we were leaving, there were people coming in. Now, there are like 15,000 people at the graduation ceremony we were at. So I could estimate there were probably going to be another 15,000 people coming in as 15,000 people are trying to leave. And this in a very tight, congested area. So you talk about the congestion, right? And so we're hearing that this sheriff's deputy was hit by a car. But it gets worse. The person who hit him intentionally. That's right. And what had happened the night before was the motive. This gentleman, I can't even call him a gentleman, this guy, this thug that hit this retired sheriff's deputy and killed him. The night before, his son and 3 of his buddies decided to go across the river into Kentucky and steal a car. And then when the cops decided to chase them for stealing the car, they eventually got out of the car when they were in this high-speed chase and run for it. But one kid had a gun on him. He had a pistol. And he stopped and pulled out that pistol and aimed it at the cops. And well, they did what, of course, they're going to do. They fired upon the kid and they shot him dead. It was that kid's dad who ran down the retired sheriff's deputy. He did it out of vengeance. He didn't know that deputy for nothing. He drove 15 minutes away from where he lived in the west side of town, a really bad neighborhood in Cincinnati, to where he knew it would be busy and where he could run somebody down and kill somebody because he wanted vengeance again against the police officers who killed his son. Bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, right? But here's the point. Think about that sheriff's deputy who died that day, who was getting CPR right in front of our eyes. He knew the dangers of his work. Cincinnati isn't exactly a safe town. I mean, you hear sirens all the time. There is crime happening all the time. It's not like the small town of Comfrey, Minnesota, where I live, where there's 350 people in town. We don't even have a stoplight. We have a bunch of stop signs. There's probably more cars in town than there are people. There's no traffic, not really. Rush hour in Comfrey, it takes me 10 minutes. It takes me 15 seconds to get home, y'all. I kid you not. Our town's not even a mile long by a mile wide. It's so small. Cincinnati, in an area that's mile wide and a mile long, there's probably 100,000 people. Compare that to where I live, where there's 350. That guy had no clue that he was graduating from this life to the next. He had no clue that that day would be his last day. Sure, in the back of his mind, he knew that tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. He knew that as a retired sheriff's deputy. In his line of work in law enforcement, he would have known that. He would have seen it all, I'm sure. But I bet you he wasn't thinking that morning that he wouldn't come home. I bet you that kid who stole that car probably wasn't thinking that he was going to graduate into eternity. Probably didn't go where he wanted to go. I bet that kid's dad, who premeditatively thought that he was going to run down a cop and get vengeance, he probably didn't realize that that day would be his last day of freedom. This made national news, y'all. The story is still unfolding. It was a stern reminder that today, this day isn't guaranteed. Anything could happen to any one of us. Could suffer a stroke, could suffer a heart attack. Anything can happen, right? So why do we mindlessly live our lives like we're going to live for another 100 years? You see people all the time just shoving food in their mouths, left and right, left and right, left and right, gambling with their health, like that other guy, like that gambling addict. How many of us are food addicts or sugar addicts? I'm a sugar addict, y'all. I can say it right now. I am a sugar addict. And if I don't intentionally stay away from sugar, it gets me every single time. I take one taste and I want another taste. You might be a sugar addict too. This video is not about sugar addiction. We could probably make a video about that. And hey, if you want a video about sugar addiction, type down below in the comment section, sugar addiction, and we will make a video about sugar addiction. I can talk into that one until the cows come home. But this video is about how are we living our lives, right? I mean, are we gambling with our health? Are we on the carnivore diet to mitigate those things? You know, if we really want to win big in life, again, tomorrow's never guaranteed. Today's never guaranteed. But if we want to win big in life, then we got to choose to make the right choices. And those right choices, in my humble opinion, have carnivore diet or ketovore diet or ketogenic diet on the other side of that equal sign. If you want to win big in life, then you've got to make the right choices too, right? And the carnivore diet can help you do that. You can win big on the carnivore diet. It's not gambling at all, y'all. It's not like mindlessly feeding $100 bills into a slot machine. It is intentionally setting yourself up to win in the future with the small choices that you make every single day by putting the right choices into your mouth. And that's what the carnivore diet does for us all. Sure, today and tomorrow are never guaranteed, but if we make the right choices with the way we eat, chances are we're going to make the right choices in other areas of our lives too. Because you know what? We never know when we're going to graduate from this life to the next. So why not live it to the fullest? Why not live it right? Why not set ourselves up for success in this life and the life to come? And if you want to know how to set yourself up for success in the life to come, then PM me down below. And you and I will have a one-on-one conversation just about that thing. Sound good? So let me ask you on the way out. Are you gambling with your health? Are you gambling with your life choices? Or are you doing it right? I'll see you again right here next time at Holy Carnivore. Goodbye.